Your phone buzzes face down on the table. You haven't read it yet. You've seen one word of a name you weren't ready for, and something in your chest has already dropped through the floor. Here's the strange part. Nothing has happened. No message has been opened. No sentence has been read. And your body has already committed to a full emergency response. One it started before the thinking part of you had finished looking. Nothing is wrong with you. That's the whole problem. Because in the next 10 minutes, your body is going to do 4 things you never agreed to. The first one happens in your hands. And here's what nobody tells you. This isn't one weird thing your body does. It's one entry on a much longer list of things your body does without asking. The hunger that comes back an hour after you ate, the goosebumps from a song, the name that vanishes mid-sentence. That's the series. We're working through all of them. Today, stress. So, your hands. Your hands go cold when you're scared. Not metaphorically, measurably. The second your brain flags a threat, noradrenaline clamps the tiny arteries in your fingertips shut. Blood leaves your hands for the big muscles that would run. In the lab, fingertip temperature drops, while the skin on your chest doesn't move at all. Your body is choosing, and your hands are what it's willing to lose. That choosing is the thing to hold on to, because it explains everything that comes next. Your fingertips are unusual. They're packed with tiny shortcut vessels that connect artery straight to vein, bypassing the skin entirely. A valve system your body uses to dump heat when you're hot, and to slam shut when you need blood somewhere more important. Under threat, they slam shut. Which is why the first physical thing you notice about fear is almost never your heart. It's your hands. And your mouth. Because at the same moment, the fluid that keeps your mouth comfortable slows down, measurably, in the lab during a stress task. So does your gut. The catecholamines flooding your system delay how fast your stomach empties, and quiet the movement of your intestines, because digestion is a project for a safe afternoon, not for right now. That's the butterflies. That's the sudden certainty that you cannot possibly eat. Your body has closed the kitchen. Frankly, your body would make a better triage nurse than most hospitals. It just has appalling timing. Because none of this is happening in a forest. It's happening in a lecture hall, or on a video call, or at 2 a.m. with a phone 8 inches from your face. And the same system that pulled blood out of your hands is about to reach your throat. Your voice shakes when you're nervous. And it isn't a confidence problem. It's chemistry. Adrenaline amplifies the fine tremor running through every muscle you own, including the ones that stretch your vocal folds. Your pitch measurably rises. Your mouth goes dry. So the shake everyone hears as fear is really a muscle being asked to hold perfectly still while it's being electrified. And in some people, fine wires in the throat have picked up the muscles around the voice box tightening before a single word is spoken. Not everyone, but enough that the dread you feel about talking is, in part, a thing happening in your neck. Quick one, and only because you're still here, which already beats most people's attention span. If the idea that your body is running programs you never authorized is as fascinating to you as it is unsettling, that's the whole channel. What your body does without asking. Hit subscribe, and the next one's already loaded. Why you're hungry again an hour after you ate. Right, back to it. So that's the first wave. Seconds. Fast, electrical, over quickly. Now here's the part almost nobody knows. There's a second wave, and it arrives late. While the adrenaline was doing its work, a much slower system was warming up. A chain of signals from your brain down to 2 small glands sitting on top of your kidneys. That chain releases cortisol. And when researchers pooled decades of laboratory stress studies, they found cortisol didn't peak during the stressful thing at all. It peaked roughly 21 to 40 minutes after the stressor began. Sit with that. 20 to 40 minutes. The conversation is over. You've left the room. You're walking to the car and you're finally, genuinely fine. And that is precisely when the chemical arrives. Which is why you can hold it together beautifully through the actual crisis, and then fall apart in a car park over nothing. You didn't fail at the end. You were just on a delay you can't feel. Quietly filed, later, under anxiety. And cortisol isn't the villain here, it's the cleanup crew. It mobilizes sugar into your blood. It sharpens the memory of what just happened so you'll recognize it next time. And it eventually tells the alarm to stand down. Every part of that is useful. Every part of that is supposed to end. The trouble starts when it doesn't. Because there's one more thing, and it isn't in the 10 minutes at all. It's the bill, and it arrives days later. In 1995, researchers studied 13 women who were caring full-time for a relative with dementia, and 13 matched women who weren't. Everyone got an identical small wound, 3.5 millimeters across. Same wound, same care. The only difference was the life around it. The caregiver's wounds took 48.7 days to heal. The control group? 39.3, nearly a quarter longer. Not because of anything they did, because of what they were carrying. And it isn't only wounds. In a separate study, healthy volunteers were deliberately exposed to a cold virus, and the rate at which people actually got sick rose step by step with how much psychological stress they'd reported beforehand. More stress, more colds, in a straight line. This is the thing the word stress hides from you. It sounds like a mood. It is a whole-body resource decision, made without your consent, and paid for out of the budget for everything that isn't an emergency. Digestion, repair, immunity, sleep. Which brings us back to where we started, and to the only distinction that actually matters. 90 years ago, a researcher named Hans Selye noticed something odd. Cold, injury, exhaustion, poison. Completely different insults produced one identical pattern in the body. He wrote it up in a single page in Nature in 1936, a syndrome whose symptoms are independent of what caused it. 20 years before him, the physiologist Walter Cannon had described the emergency version, the one that empties your hands and floods your muscles. Neither of them was describing a malfunction. They were describing the most successful survival machinery in your body. It kept something alive long enough for you to exist. The problem is not that it fires. The problem is that it was built for something that ends. A threat that ends lets the whole system close the loop. Alarm, response, recovery, done. But a threat that never quite finishes. The group chat, the inbox, the number on the screen, the thing you have to do on Thursday, keeps the loop open. And an open loop doesn't burn out dramatically. It just quietly keeps drawing on the same account. Researchers call that accumulated cost the wear and tear of staying switched on, which is a very calm phrase for what it actually feels like, which is burnout. So, the phone is still buzzing on the table. Your hands are cold because your body chose your legs over your fingertips. Your voice is unsteady because adrenaline is amplifying a tremor that's always been there. Your stomach is closed because digestion isn't an emergency service. And in about half an hour, a chemical you can't feel arriving is going to land, and you're going to wonder why you feel worse now that it's over. None of that is a personality flaw. None of it is weakness. Not one part of it asked your permission. You're not fragile. You're running very old emergency software on a Tuesday afternoon. Tell me the honest one. Where do you feel stress first? Hands, stomach, chest, or throat? One word.